All right, let's get right into it. What we're looking at here is a massive, high-stakes showdown between one of the world's top AI companies and, well, the entire US government. It's a crazy story about ethics, about power, and about the future of AI in our national security that went all the way to the top.
And boom, this is the endgame. An absolutely explosive statement from the president himself, right there on social media for the whole world to see. We're talking a complete ban, a total shutdown.
I mean, it's just a wild turn of events, right? So you have to ask yourself, how on earth did we get here? How does a partnership between a cutting-edge AI company and the US military just completely implode like this? Let's break it all down.
Okay, so to really get what happened, we kind of have to start at the end, with the president stepping in himself.
And this wasn't some soft warning. It was fast and it was sweeping. An executive order came down telling literally every single federal agency they had to stop using Anthropic's AI. And the deadline? Just 6 months to get it done.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting. The why. The Pentagon officially called Anthropic a supply chain risk. Now, you have to understand, that's a huge deal. That's a label you slap on a foreign company you think might be a security threat. For an American tech company to get that label, it's basically never happened before. Just completely unprecedented.
All right, so let's hit rewind. To figure out how this fire really started, we need to go back and look at the lines in the sand that Anthropic drew.
And you've got to remember, Anthropic wasn't some anti-government group. No way. They were actually trailblazers here. They were the first big AI company to actually put their tech on the government's most secret classified networks. They were, all in.
Okay, so here's red line number 1, mass surveillance on Americans. Anthropic was basically saying, look, using AI to track foreign threats, that's one thing. But turning that same power inward on US citizens, that's a whole different ballgame. They were worried their AI could piece together all this public data, your web history, where you've been, and create a super detailed picture of any American's life. And all of this without needing a warrant. That was a big no for them.
And then came red line number 2, fully autonomous weapons. We're talking about weapons that make the decision to fire all by themselves, with no human in the loop. Anthropic's argument was pretty straightforward. The AI just isn't there yet. It's not safe enough, not reliable enough, and they were really concerned that putting these things out there could be dangerous for everyone.
And this right here, this is the core of the problem. You see it laid out perfectly. Anthropic says, no mass surveillance on our own people, no killer robots. The Pentagon says, look, we need to be able to use this for any lawful use. And you can kind of see their point, right? They're thinking, in a crisis, they can't have a tech company's rules getting in the way. But yeah, the two sides were just miles apart.
So, with nobody budging, how did this go from just a disagreement to an all-out war? Well, that's when the Pentagon decided to play some serious hardball.
Things got really tense. In a high-stakes meeting, the defense secretary basically gave Anthropic's CEO 3 ultimatums. First, we'll just cancel your contract. Second, we'll brand you a supply chain risk for everyone to see. And the big one, number 3, we might use the Defense Production Act to force you to work with us. That is a serious, serious threat.
And Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei, he immediately called them out on it. He was basically like, hold on a second. How can we be a security risk, but at the same time, our tech is so essential that you might legally force us to hand it over? I mean, it just doesn't add up, right? A total contradiction.
Well, with talks completely broken down, that's when this whole thing exploded out from behind closed doors and into the public eye. And man, did it escalate fast.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's dizzying. Tuesday, you've got the secret meeting with the threats. Just 2 days later on Thursday, Amodei goes public and says they're not backing down. That same night, the Pentagon puts out a deadline on social media. And then Friday, bam, the president drops the hammer with a full ban. The whole thing went from 0 to 100 in like 72 hours.
And then things got ugly and very personal. A top defense official gets on X and straight up accuses Anthropic's CEO of having a God complex, saying he wanted to personally control the US military. I mean, this was no longer a policy debate. It was a personal attack, plain and simple.
But Anthropic didn't flinch. They fired right back with their own statement saying they wouldn't be intimidated. And get this, they called the Pentagon the Department of War, which is actually a phrase the president himself has used. A pretty pointed jab right there.
So look, this is way bigger than just one company.
This whole standoff opened up a massive can of worms for the future of tech and defense in the US. I mean, how are you supposed to stay ahead of your adversaries if your own top tech companies and your own government are at each other's throats?
And this is where the story gets even more compelling. All of a sudden, Anthropic wasn't alone. You had their biggest rivals like OpenAI and Google speaking up. You had politicians from both sides of the aisle, and, maybe most shocking of all, you had former top AI leaders from the Pentagon itself saying, hey, maybe the government is going too far here.
You've got to hear this quote from retired General Jack Shanahan. This guy was the head of Project Maven, that huge AI project that caused a big employee walkout at Google a few years back. You'd think he'd be 100% on the Pentagon side, but even he came out and said he was sympathetic to Anthropic's position. Coming from him, that is a massive deal.
Now, you might be wondering, how could Anthropic afford to stand up to the US government like this? Well, just follow the money. Sure, a $200 million government contract is a lot of cash, but the company is valued at an eye-watering $380 billion. So at the end of the day, they just didn't need the Pentagon's money, and that gave them all the leverage they needed to stand their ground.
And this is where you see the real ripple effect. Because after this all went down, Anthropic's biggest rival, OpenAI, basically said, yeah, us too. They confirmed publicly that they have the same exact red lines. So Anthropic's very public fight ended up setting the standard for the entire AI industry.
So this particular battle might be over for now, but the bigger war over who's in charge of AI's future, that's just getting started. As this tech gets woven deeper and deeper into our government and our military, we're all left with a huge question. Who gets to draw the ethical lines? Is it the people who create this powerful technology, or is it the government that wants to wield it?